definitely going to change everything when it comes to the finishing order of this race. Jeremy Miller, can he recover from that kind of damage? I don't really know if he could, because this is such a aero-dependent track.
Well, see, I don't think he can, because
smacked it pretty hard.
he came into the pits immediately after the leader, as now Chambliss comes into the pits. So does the 37 of Swigert. So this could leave Robbie Kennelly into the lead of this race. But at the moment, it is Brian Bateman in the lead of this race in the 83 car. And it's not a bad looking car. Like, this is actually one of the cars that I really rate as far as paint schemes go. It's nice and it's simple. It's black with the silver trim down on the bottom of the car. It just looks nice and classic, Brian.
Yeah, it's definitely a simple looking paint scheme, reminiscent of Dale Earnhardt Sr. with the black. You know, you see that black car coming up in your rear view, you know, you better watch it. Yeah.
That's exactly right. He wasn't the intimidator for nothing. But at the moment, he is going to be in the lead of this race. It's Derek Wright. Hello everyone and welcome to the historic North Wilkesboro Speedway for the Sim Racing Hub simracerhub.com or simracerhub.com 150 right here on the Aussie Sim Commentator channel for the Output Racing League. And we have a few cars on track. Currently Thomas Harmon leading the way with an 18.452. There he is on screen. Like some of the drivers in the pits are getting ready for a pit party here. A couple of guys still on track, just taking their time with it. Harmon being one of them, Mark Pentecoop out there as well, and Austin Collins was also out there. Like at the moment we've got 12 cars registered to race in this one. Make that 13 actually. 13 cars registered to race in this one. I don't know where I got 12 from. Apparently I'm just delusional. It was like maybe everyone's given up on the notion of doing a pit party. Because everyone that was in the pits just filed out onto the track. And Austin Collins, he's only just been here for half a minute, and he's already put in the fastest time in practice so far, an 18.434 as 24. Frank Isaacson is on his lid there at pit entry. But now they're starting to line up for a pit party once more. There is the 98 of Austin Collins, current number 1. So he brings it to a full stop. And here we go, now cars should start rolling out onto the track. Being led by Mr. Travis Massier in the 13. There's the 39, James Watson. He is currently 4th. Corey Cook, who doesn't have many laps under his belt here so far, he's currently sitting in 10th with an 18.624. The top 8 are all separated by less than a tenth. But here we go. It's going to be Corey Cook and Travis Massier leading the way. Massier lagging right back on that start. He will slot into 3rd for the pit party. Frank Isaacson currently on the outside of Austin Collins. Oh, Austin's loose. He just tagged Frank. Oh, Kraus. How did he get through that without touching anyone? He was right behind both of these two, and he just somehow snaked his way through that. The rest of the field carries on. Loose is going to be the name of the game around here. You don't want to hit the gas too hard or else you're going around. Means you don't want to be downshifting or else you're definitely going to be burning up those rear tyres. Oh, round goes Corey Cook. Nice little 360, gets back going again. It's just Jonathan Hernandez and Joe Slama who have yet to put in times. Travis Masia goes very defensive into turn 1 that time, runs out wide. It opens up the door for Jonas to get up on his inside here, heading into 3. And that's exactly what happened. Masia almost out-dragged him on the back straight, using the momentum of that outside line. Couldn't quite hold it though. There's a 92 Chris Champeau. He's currently P3 in the standings. And Hernandez has put in the time, but it's not worthy of mention. Joe Slama just rolled out onto the track as well. He's just behind Chris Champeau here. Around goes Kyle Kraus in the background. And Slama with the big old drifto into turn 1. That's not how you're going to make lap time around here. Around goes James Watson coming out of turn 2. That's something that we might see pretty often, honestly. Because these cars are very loose on the exit of turn 2. Of course, turn 2 is where they start going uphill, because this track isn't flat. Turns 3 and 4 are uphill, on top of the hill, and 1 and 2 are on the bottom of the hill. Around goes Travis Masia. There's Thomas Harmon, currently P2. And the 5 of Mark Pentecoff, currently P12. Both Hernandez and Slama struggling for time at the moment. Hernandez only with an 18.594. Slama only with an 18.678 to be 13th. So they currently flank Pentecoff in times. Well, it's James Watson gets it a little bit wrong. He goes onto the grass coming out of turn 2. Looks like Mark Pentecoff trying to catch up to Thomas Harmon here. Harmon, who's on currently a 18-lap run. So he's seeing how far these tyres can go. Same too for Corey Cook, who's on 17 laps, but he's in the pits. So his run is over as far as that set of tyres is concerned. Jonas Marquez on a 19-lap run. There's Mark Pentecoff, he's also on a long run. Encouraging to see him not falling too far behind Thomas though. As around goes Kyle Kraus. The entire field is spread by just over 2 tenths at the moment. There's less than 5 minutes to go on practice here, make that 4.5 minutes. These guys trying to get everything they can out of these cars and tyres before qualifying. Austin Collins with the 18.417. That's definitely going to be hard to beat. He's 400ths faster than Thomas Harmon. Joe Slammer just 300 slower than Thomas Harmon. As now, Austin has actually dipped into the threes now, so he's at 18.387. He's picking up the pace here. He's gone over half a tenth faster than Thomas Harmon. Harmon on a long run though, he's got 25 laps on these tyres. We see Jonas Marquez on track, he's currently P7. Just in front of him, Chris Champeau on P5. Marquez, who's also on a long run on his tyres. And they're starting to look a bit ordinary for him. At least the front ones are. Struggling to get some turn out of this car. James Watson just behind him on some freshies. And that's what happens when you push freshies too hard. There's Joe Slammer, currently P3. He's on a bit of a run as well. He's got 17.5 laps on his tyres. And he is a full 10th slower than Austin Collins right now. Frank Isaacson's currently P9. It's good for Frank. He's looking strong. We just saw James Watson there getting loose. There's Corey Williamson. He's currently P11 with an 18.589. Which puts him 0.2 slower than Austin Collins. Just in front of him is Chris Champeau. And Williamson actually faster than Hernandez right now by about 0.005 of a second. But we are going to go to a commercial break now. Time flew by there as we were watching the cars go around. So make sure you, when you come back, you got something to drink, something to hold on to, something to eat. This should be a fantastic race here for the SimRacerHub.com 150 from the historic North Wilkesboro Speedway. Welcome back to the SimRacerHub.com 150 here from the historic North Wilkesboro Speedway. And on the pole will be the 92 of Chris Champeau. On his outside will be the 38 of Thomas Harmon. Then we have the 61 of Corey Cook out of P3, James Watson in the 39 out of P4, the 24 of Frank Isaacson out of P5, the 13 of Travis Massey out of P6, the 7 of Kyle Kraus out of 7th, the 5 of Mark Penscoff out of 8th, the 88 of Jonathan Hernandez out of 9th, with the 64 of Jonas Marquez out of 10th. Got Joe Slalom 11th, Austin Collins in 12th, and Corey Williamson starting out of the 13th position. So there is your starters and drivers. We'll go 2 laps around before we go green. A 150 laps awaits us here at North Wilkesboro. And we will be going green next time by Alright, here we go. Race car is going to make that hard left turn into the pit lane. The first start is on green. All the restarts are on the leader in the restart zone, which you can see painted on the track there in turn 4. The green flag is out. We are off and racing here for the SimRacerHub.com 150 here at the historic North Wilkesboro Speedway for the Output Racing League on the Aussie Sim Commentator channel. And look at the drag race side by side. Chris Champeau and Thomas Harmon. They are absolutely deadlocked right now. Who is going to lead the first lap? It's going to be Thomas Harmon at the line leading the first one. Harmon does not want to give up the advantage of that outside line, which is actually pretty strong around here at North Wilkesboro, at least on the start. But after a couple of laps, that advantage does tend to wear away a little bit, and the car on the inside will prevail. But they're still side by side. They've been locked together for 3 laps now, side by side. Thomas Harmon will not rest until he can take the lead, and Corey Cook has gone around. We just saw that in the background. Corey Cook went around. It looks like he got onto the grass, so it's going to be no caution. As it looked like that time, Chris Champeau got on the brakes a little bit early. Thomas Harmon took the lead. They were 4 laps side by side continuously. And now let's see what's going on with the 61 Corey Cook. He's just gotten back onto the track. And it looks like he's going to continue on racing, but he has gone a lap down already. We now set the camera to focus on crashes. The entire field is pretty much strung out single file. But that does not mean that we will not see action. With the way that these cars have been behaving around here in practice, we could still see a little bit of shenanigans yet. There's the 7 of Kyle Kraus, the 88 of Jonathan Hernandez. Hernandez currently in P6. Chris Champeau has retaken the lead. We didn't get to see it on camera, but it definitely happened. We can see the proof of it here. The only thing I can suggest is maybe Thomas Harmon went a little bit deep into 3 and 4, and that just opened up the way for Chris Champeau to get through. Either that or Thomas Harmon got a little bit loose coming off of one of the corners. But there is absolutely nothing between these two right now. Go back to focusing on crashes here for a sec, see what we can see around the track. A little bit of gap starting to grow between our 2 leaders now as Chris Champeau starting to walk away with this one a little bit. As it looks like the 13 Travis Massey are trying to put some pressure onto Jonathan Hernandez. At the same time, 7 of Kyle Kraus trying to pressure Frank Isaacson, who had an excellent qualifying effort and is up there in 4th still. So if Frank can hold on to this, this will be great for his point situation. as we are starting to wind down and getting to the end of the regular season. Coming into this race, TJ Cranton was leading the way by a point over Thomas Harmon. Chris Champeau in second, 36 points off of Thomas Harmon. And I'm just trying to find 24. Frank Isaacson currently P9 in the standings. He's just one behind Travis Masia, but 94 points off the lead. I think next week is actually the end of the regular season, if I remember so correctly from the last time I looked at the schedule. But Chris Champeau still leading the way, although it might be a little bit of a battle here between our two leaders. Or at least it will be soon. The gap is not all that big. And yeah, next week is the last race in the regular season. Then we go into playoffs. Frank Isaacson still under immense pressure here from Kyle Kraus. With James Watson also trying to pressure Thomas Harmon for second. James Watson actually with the fastest lap of the race right now, an 18.554. As we've already completed 16 laps in this race. 16 and a half as we go past the back straight gate. And it's still Chris Champeau leading the way. The race was to end right now. He would walk away with the most laps led bonus point. And just a little bit of a hiccup there from Frank Isaacson. And that made Kyle get a little bit erratic. There's also Jonathan Hernandez just behind Kyle that he has to worry about. This is actually a very interesting little battle to keep an eye on. The other battle just behind these guys is between Jonas Marquez and Austin Collins. They're battling over 8th and 9th. In fact, they just went side by side. I think Austin Collins just took the position away. Actually, they're still side by side back there. Marquez on the outside. Look at how deep he goes into the corner. He almost cleared Austin Collins in the corner, but in the end he had to give up position. Just behind him, Joe Slama also trying to make some moves as he works his way into the top 10 and getting around Mark Pentacup. Back up to the 24, Frank Isaacson, and he's pulled away from Kyle Kraus here a little bit. And he's actually been catching up to the leaders ever so slightly. So the short track here of North Wilkesboro definitely working in the favour of Frank Isaacson here. As he's found a little bit of pace that the other drivers just don't have right now. He was faster than the three in front of him. And he is right on the tail of James Watson now. But he'll want to be careful. He doesn't want to get too greedy or else he'll make a mistake. And speaking of making mistakes, Thomas Harmon was one who made a mistake. He went very wide into turns 1 and 2. Speaking of wides into the corner, that was Chris Champeau, that time in 3 and 4. He uses the momentum to gather it back up and keep ahead though. And Thomas Harmon doing a very slight diamond line there in 1 and 2. The same for Chris Champeau in 3 and 4. In fact, he checked up so much there, Thomas Harmon had to lock the brake up to make sure he didn't run into him. Thomas Harmon taking a very wide entry into 1 and 2, trying to get that slingshot into 3 and 4. This time Chris Champeau was wise to it and decided to block the line instead of run his normal one. And Thomas Harmon continuing to do the diamond slingshot line. And it looks like it's just about to his advantage. Here he comes up the inside now. Not quite there yet. Chris still leaves him plenty of room, though, just in case. As I just saw Austin Collins up on the inside, Travis Massia going through turn 4. He's going to get another position there, move himself up into P7. And Travis Massia might actually lose another one to Jonas Marquez. And in fact, he has, as it's very close quarters here for the lead. And Thomas Harmon gets a little bit of a wiggle coming out of turn 4 that time. That just ruined his momentum. It pulled him back to James Watson there a little bit. Christian Poe's not putting on an electric pace. He's just kind of chilling out there a little bit. Maybe trying to save his tires for later in a run when he really needs to defend. As Frank touched the grass there a little bit in turn 2, got a little bit of a wobble on himself. But Isaacson still maintaining position in front of Kraus. Oh, and this time, up the inside is Thomas Harmon. But he couldn't do anything with it. Got a little bit of a wiggle out of turn 2. That allowed Champo to get the advantage. Oh, there's a touch. There's a touch out of turn 4. And that stacked up the front of the field once more. Two guys racing hard for the lead early in the race. Kyle Kraus tried to get to the outside of Frank Isaacson that time in 1 and 2. Couldn't quite get there. And Frank is actually on a wild one right now. Not only is he keeping pace with the leaders, he's looking pretty dangerous here in 4th. Feel like he might attempt a move on Watson if the conditions are right for him. You can see the differing lines being taken there coming out of turn 4. Isaacson taking the extreme inside, trying to get a sniff of a gap underneath the James Watson. Couldn't quite get there this time. You see once more Christian Poe taking that slightly wider entry and slingshotting out of the corner. And all over the bumper of Watson is Isaacson. He actually made Watson make a mistake there. He clipped the little apron curb there in turn 4. It unsettled the car. And Frank Isaacson checked up for it. Isaacson was under pressure there for a quick second from Kraus, but I think Kraus caught the wall. And now Kraus has to worry about Austin Collins behind him. So this is going to be interesting to watch play out. See what happens. As the battle for the lead is kind of tapered off here a little bit. Christian Poe has gotten a little bit of a gap over Harmon. As we're now 40 laps into this race. I think now is probably as good a time as any to go to a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we will be going to at least the midway point, which green flag pit stops might be a thing, so make sure you guys stay tuned. More action here from the simracerhub.com. 150 will be coming up shortly. Welcome back to the SimRacerHub.com 150 here from the historic North Wilkesboro Speedway. Chris Champeau still leading the way and only by about 2/10 over Thomas Harmon. We'll go back to the outside view. Thomas Harmon still sitting there in second, and it's still Watson and Isaacson in third and fourth. Oh, it looks like Isaacson had a little bit of a wiggle on that time through turn 4. He's lost a little bit of time to the leaders now. Speaking of losing time, the 7 of Kyle Kraus has just been passed by Austin Collins. That's for the 5th position. And these guys have a lot of gap to try and make up to Frank Isaacson, who's just been pulling away from these guys. It's about a 1 second gap, as here goes Joe Slama as well. Kyle might have issues here, which is why he's losing out on so much time. Have a look at the right side of that car the next time we're on camera view that can see it. There's a little bit of scraping there, so I think he very well may have a pretty major issue with that car. Going back up to our leaders now. Chris Champeau is under pressure from Thomas Harmon. James Watson not letting either of these two go. A little bit of grass being dragged onto the track there in turn 2. That can make conditions a little bit slippery for some of these drivers. We're also starting to catch up to lap traffic in the form of Mark Pentecup. He's only 3 seconds up the road in front of our leader. And there's no easy place to make an overtake here in lap traffic on a short track. Oh, and Pentecup decides to go to the pits to get right out of the way, as we are now at 3rd race distance. Oh, and just about to the inside of Harmon was Watson that time. Very close quarters between our top 3. One gets an advantage, and then all of a sudden advantage nulled and gone. And just look at how hard they're driving here, just to try and gain any kind of advantage over each other. Oh, it's that time. I think Harmon got loose coming out of turn 2. He's still looking for that inside run in 3 and 4, which I think will be his big advantage if he can get it. See, Champeau takes the defensive line into 1 and 2. Still slingshotting it, but not as severely as what Harmon's doing. And this time to the inside in 3. And Champeau has to leave the door open for him. There was almost another little touch on the left rear of Champeau. But ultimately, in the end there, Champeau coming out on top. Peter 39, James Watson, he's trying to take advantage of the situation. Can't quite get up there, though. But the more battling these guys do, the more chance for Frank Isaacson to catch back up to them. Especially if the battling is between our two leaders in the form of Champeau and Harmon. And here goes James Watson now. He's dived up to the inside in turn 3. Demands all the space he can get. Oh, but he got loose coming out of turn 4. That was all she wrote for that little battle. Although he is still right there. He was compromised by taking a very shallow line into turns 1 and 2. And actually allowed Champeau to spread his legs just a little bit. He's got 0.5 of a second over Thomas Harmon now, so it's all going to be Thomas Harmon to try and catch. And what can Frank Isaacson do with these guys battling so hard up front? That's going to be the ultimate question here. We may very well see Frank Isaacson standing on the podium. As we're already just about 63 laps in the books. So well and truly over the 1/3 distance. We're edging ever closer to the halfway mark. That will be the completion of lap 75. And to the outside now looks Thomas Harmon. Nothing really doing there, but he does get a good run down the main straight. Oh, a little bit of a touch to the back of Champeau. The chrome horn has come out. Side by side they go again. Champeau takes the full advantage of the outside line down the back straight, but what can he do on the front straight? He's still leading the way. He's trying to get back down into that low line. Thomas runs a little bit wide, going a little bit deeper than normal. But Champeau holds on strong. Oh, there's another little touch on the left rear. These guys are fighting for sheep stations right now. Thomas Harmon now leads the way. Chris won't like that. Chris will be looking for payback. He gets right up onto the right rear of Harmon. As James Watson gets loose, he's out of this battle now. Now what will unfold for our top two after all that shenanigans? 5 of Mark Pentecoff working his way through these guys a little bit on fresher tyres. He's going to be trying to get one of his laps back, but if I was him, I wouldn't want to get involved in this battle for the lead because it might get feisty here shortly. James Watson runs wide to allow Pentecoff free passage. And at some point, Slama got around Collins. I only just noticed that now. Collins has lost a little bit of pace to Slama. Kyle Krause, who was up there before, he slipped all the way back down to 9th now. Pentecoff right on the back of our 2 leaders. And that's not what Chris Champeau would want to see. Oh, this Pentecoff just slammed the fence coming out of turn 4. But he's still got a whole bucket load of pace over these two as you know, he does have those fresher tyres. But it might be the point here for Chris to just let Pentecoff go. As you know, he could play spoiler here and unsettle Harmon a little bit. You see Pentecoff forced to go around the outside now. James Watson got up on his inside. Saw Frank Isaacson in the background also getting a big drift on. Now he's falling into the clutches of Joe Salama. Pentecoff, he's taking his time here. He doesn't want to really get involved. As I said, if I was Chris Champeau right now, I would let Mark go, that he could play havoc with Thomas Harmon here a little bit. I mean, look at how much speed that 5 car has in the corner. And that's the difference in tyres right there. But Chris is running his own race. He doesn't want to get distracted by lap cars as we're now officially at the halfway point. 75 down, 75 to go. Joe Slama trying to find a way around Frank Isaacson. That's the battle for 4th. But we're going to stay up here with our top 2 for now, because anything can happen when you're racing around a lap car on fresher tyres. The 7 of Kyle Kraus has come in for a pit stop. He's going to be looking at getting some fresh rubber on, maybe a little bit of repairs while he's at it. I think the move is now on for the 4th position. To the inside goes Joe Slama on Isaacson. Side by side they go as Frank tries to squeeze him down, pin him down to that inside line. Frank knows if he can keep Slama down there enough, Slama's going to get loose. Oh, but Frank gets loose. Frank into the fence. And that ruins what was an excellent run for Frank Isaacson. No caution, no. So we continue racing. Frank is now going to fall all the way down to at least 8. Travis Massier has come into the pits. Going to go back up to our 2 leaders. Or should I say our 3 leaders? Because James Watson is still right up here in this group. But I feel heartbroken for Frank. He was going so well all the way up there in 4th. And for it to all come unstuck like that, very unfortunate. As Massier now comes out of the pits. Kyle Kraus, he's only in 10th, 1 lap down. And he is actually the first car 1 lap down. So if we get a caution here, he'll get the lucky dog. Which would be very fortuitous. Having a look at his time through the pits, it's very likely that he got fuel only by the looks of things. I don't think he took tyres at all. If he did, maybe just right side tyres. A little bit of a wiggle that time from Champo. That opened up the gap between himself and Harmon here a little bit. Well, James Watson has disappeared off the face of the earth. Oh, there he is. He's back. Watson experimenting with some alternate dimensions, trying to gain an advantage. It doesn't look like he's got there yet, though. He's actually fallen right back off of this pack. But we wanted to make sure when he faced back into reality, he wasn't in anyone's way. Although he's faced back out again. This is scary for Joe Slama. He's sitting there provisionally in 3rd if Watson doesn't come back. There's Slama now up on his inside trying to get 3rd. And again goes Watson. And he's back once more. Watson not having a fun race right now. As Massier is back in the pits again. So big issues on the 13 Gladiator machine. Watson now under attack from Collins. And looks like the handle might be falling off of the 92 machine of Chris Champo. Surprisingly, we still have not had a single caution yet. As I said, if we do get a caution, Kyle Kraus in perfect position being the first car 1 lap down. James Watson still phasing in and out of reality. Our leader's starting to catch up to Corey Williamson here a little bit. Williamson only 3 seconds up the road from Harmon. About the length of the back straight. Kyle Kraus on his fresh tyres. He's making a charge through. I mean, we suspect fresh tyres. We've got a caution. And I think, unfortunately, it was for Frank again. No. Let's see what happened to Frank here. Coming out of turn 2 behind Jonas Marquez. Oh, and he's just stomped on a little bit hard. You can see the back end coming around. And he's just overcorrected it. Oh no, straight into the wall. See Corey Cook just in there behind him. That's where the cautions come out. That's going to be our first caution of this race. With that, we are going to go to a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to see the results of the pit stops. So make sure you guys stay tuned. Welcome back to the Sim Racer Hub 150 here from the North Wilkesboro Speedway, and pit stops have been completed. Thomas Harmon came out first. Chris Champo's in second. We've got Joe Slammer in third, Austin Collins fourth, James Watson in fifth, Jonathan Hernandez P6, Jonas Marquez in seventh, Corey Williamson eighth, and Kyle Kraus in ninth. Frank Isaacson, first of the lap down cars, in 10th after that crash that he had. So he didn't get some repairs. And Corey Cook in 11th. Now Thomas Harmon does have lane choice here. Choose to either start on the inside or the outside line. The outside does have the advantage on restarts. And I think he might choose the outside. Yep, there he goes. Goes with the outside line. We also have the potential here for more cautions, with the field being all packed up once more. So here we go. The restart with 50 laps left to run in this race. Pace car peels off. We're in the restart zone and we're off and racing. Great start there from Thomas Harmon. And a great start also for Austin Collins, who's challenging for second on the outside. See if Chris Champo can outrace him here on the inside line. He couldn't do it for Thomas Harmon earlier. As behind him, oh no, Chris is gone. And Marquez is involved. Turn 2 for Slammer. Oh no, and Travis Massier as well. Let's go back and slow this down and figure it out. Coming off of turn 4. We saw Chris get loose. And he speared into the inside fence. Did Slama get loose as well? I saw a blue and white car down there, and I'm pretty sure he's the only blue and white car in this race. Slama goes high. Oh, and I think Slama actually gets into 88, and that sends him around. What happened with Jonas? Jonas just collects himself on Corey Williamson here, which sends him spearing into Chris Champeau. Unfortunately, Travis Masia nowhere to go. Now, Jonas was on the brakes there. You could see his tires were locked up, but yeah, he just couldn't stop moving the car. Such was the velocity the cars were at coming down the hill there. And that's going to shake things up here a little bit. Thomas Harmon leading the way from Austin Collins, Jonathan Hernandez, and Corey Williamson now in the top 4. Kyle Kraus is back up the 5th. Corey Cook is in P6 as he was a lucky dog wave around. But he might get dropped down to 7th behind James Watson. Frank Isaacson in 8th. Mark Pentecoff 9th. Chris Champeau, very unlucky for him. He's going to be in 10th. And Joe Slama also unlucky, but the most unlucky of all was the 13 of Travis Masia there. James Watson just comes out in front of the pace car there. He's very lucky. He might actually get an end-of-line penalty for that. That's how close that was. That'll put him behind Corey Cook. But we shall see. As we're one, the green, Thomas Harmon once again chooses the outside lane. See Frank Isaacson there just sneaking back onto the track. And the field has been demolished. All right, but here we go. Pace car's going to make that hard left turn into the pit lane once more. And we'll send them off and racing.
Go, go, go. Green flag.
Great jump once more for Thomas Harmon. Austin Collins had no answer for him. And they're going to single file out for the first 3 positions. Corey Williamson on the outside line there, trying to make something of this with Kyle Kraus. In fact, he's on the outside of Jonathan Hernandez now, trying to make some magic happen. This is the highest we've seen Corey Williamson for a long time. As he's still trying to just duck down in front of Kyle Kraus here. He's not going to get there just yet. He's bouncing off the fence a little bit. That's not going to be good for his car, especially if he keeps doing it. Side by side they continue. That is the battle for 4th. It looks like this time Williamson might relent, although maybe not. Yep, now he does. Just behind these guys is James Watson. There's a lot of smoke up ahead. I don't know why there was that much smoke there. I think someone ducked into the pit lane. It might have been Frank. Oh, and around goes James Watson. He was on fresher tyres. No caution as of yet, though. And he is now 3/4 of a lap behind the field. Back up to the front, though, once we get the right camera angle. Harmon and Collins, 1st and 2nd. Hernandez in 3rd. Kraus in 4th. What can Collins do here? He's got to be on full attack. that's the only way you can race Thomas Harmon is be on full attack. Collins and issue in qualifying, didn't really get a good lap in. He's up 10 from where he started. Started in 12th. Corey Williamson doing good to hold on to a top 5 right now in front of Corey Cook. The Cookie Monster hasn't been having the greatest of races. Went a couple of laps down very early in the piece. Let's set the cameras to focus on crashes. There's our battle for third between Hernandez and Kraus. Move back up to Austin Collins. Battle is on between the two Corys. Cook on the inside, Williamson on the outside. And two different ways of spelling Corey as well. And Williamson railing the Larson line there. And it worked out for him in 1 and 2. He's definitely maintaining pace in front of the Cookie Monster. Williamson just trying to desperately hold on to the top 5 here. I think his luck just ran out. Cookie Monster gets a great run through 3 and 4 that time. In fact, this time he has him cleared completely. Back up with our leaders. Thomas Harmon's pulling away from Austin Collins. The battle is still pretty intense for third there between Hernandez and Kraus. Kraus looking for any advantage over Hernandez he can get. James Watson just 6.5 seconds in front of Thomas Harmon on track. About 1/3 of the track distance. The battle between the two Corys is continuing on here. They're battling over 5th and 6th. And just remember, 2 Corys don't make a right. But 3 laps do. Go have a look at our battle for third as Kraus is pulling away from Hernandez. Hernandez might have made a mistake there, which allowed Kraus through. The battle for the lead starting to tighten up here a little bit as well. Collins is just edging ever closer to the back of Thomas Harmon. James Watson has put in a new fastest lap of the race in 18.378. It's 200ths faster than our leaders Harmon and Collins. And we've got caution on the track as Frank's gone around again, this time in turn 4. And that one broke loose on him very early in the piece, actually. He's already loose going into the corner. We haven't seen that yet. That might be a little bit of too much free brake by the looks of things. But once these things go, there's just no catching them. And around he goes once more. Right in front of our leaders. And it looks like everyone's taking this opportunity to pit, get their last set of tyres on. We're less than 20 laps until the end of the race, so this is a very smart decision. We only have 10 cars left in this race. Mark Pentecoff gets one of his laps back. Austin Collins is already back out on track. He's taken 2 tyres, so too is Kraus and Hernandez. Thomas Harmon has come out of the pits in 5th. Now that's a shake-up we didn't see coming. Travis Massier is going to get a wave around here, and he'll be 32 laps down. But Austin Collins comes into the pits second, comes out of the pits first. He's going to have Kraus and Hernandez around him. And Corey Williamson, 4 cars. But this caution definitely benefits the 39 of James Watson, who's just come in to get his fresh tyres as well. He was 2/3 of the lap behind. And this now brings him right back in step with everyone. And if we get another caution, Mark Pentecoff will be back on the lead lap. But we'll have to wait and see how this restart's going to play out. Top 4 all on 2 tyres. Thomas Harmon on 4, James Watson on 4, Corey Cook on 4. But James Watson stayed in there for an extra 10 seconds, got some repairs done as well. Austin Collins chooses the outside line. We're going to get the restart here with just 16 laps to go. Pace car is going to make that hard left turn into the pit lane. And the leader can go at any point in the restart zone. And we're racing.
Green flag.
Great jump there for Austin Collins. Puts him straight into the lead. Kyle Kraus immediately takes second with Hernandez third. Corey Williamson's going to probably lose out on a couple positions here, especially with all the cars behind him being on 4 tyres. So let's keep an eye on Thomas Harmon here, the first car on 4. So he's worked his way up into the 4th position. Oh, and he's been tapped by Watson. And that's allowed Williamson to maintain the 4th position. Harmon looks a little bit frazzled here, not being at the front of the pack. Having to actually battle for position. He's a little bit loose on the low side. Big lock up there from Hernandez up ahead of these guys. As Harmon's trying to find the grip on corner exit to get around Williamson. It's not easy to do because Williamson using that high line momentum to maintain all of his speed. And it looks like a couple of well-timed wall taps as well. But now Harmon gets around him. Harmon actually went a little bit deep into 1 and 2 that time. But he gets the position. And now Harmon Has to try and make his way through Hernandez, Kraus, and Collins to get the lead back if he can. Time is not on his side. Just 10.5 laps to go. Make that 10 when they get to the start-finish line. Austin Collins has Kyle Kraus all over his tail right now, though. Fierce battling between our two leaders. And Hernandez has his hands full of Watson right now as well. So Watson just trying to sneak up on the inside of him. In fact, they're side by side. As I hit the wrong button. Harmon ended up winning that little battle. The 2 tires is not a bad call. In fact, Austin Collins took the 2 tires and has the new fastest lap of the race, an 18.364 in clean air. And our top 2 have just absolutely marched away from Hernandez in 3rd. And to think Kyle Kraus earlier in the race took himself out of the conversation, dropped all the way down the field. A couple of well-timed cautions and some pit strategy. And he's right back in this thing. And he is in with a shot here of beating Austin. Chrome Horn might become a viable moving solution for him. We've just got to see how it works out as we've got 5 to go. Battle is also on for 3rd between Hernandez, Harmon, and Watson. But we're focused on this battle for the lead. Harmon has made his way into 3rd now. Back to Hernandez. We've got a caution for Hernandez. Hernandez went around. What happened to Hernandez? Oh no, don't tell me. It's the dreaded net code. It was. Huge net code. There was about a foot between those 2 cars. And net code has sent Hernandez around in turns 1 and 2. Watson hard on the brakes. Just somehow managing to miss him. That's unfortunate for Hernandez. With that caution, Mark Pentecoff is now back on the lead lap. Now have 7 cars back on the lead lap. Corey Cook's 2 laps down. After he got himself back on the lead lap, so I'm not sure what happened there for Corey. That caution does help out Thomas Harmon here. Also helps out James Watson. Because assuming Austin Collins is going to choose the outside line here once more, Watson could follow him through and take over 2nd and be battling for the lead. So your current order is Collins, Kraus, Harmon, Watson, Williamson, Hernandez, and Pentecoff. That's your lead lap cast to the top 7. And it's Cook, 2 laps down, Massio, who is 32 laps down, and Isaacson, who is 40 laps down. Make that 41 laps down. I don't think he's coming back out on track. Unfortunately, we have lost Slama, Marquez, and Champeau from the race. Bill's getting ready to get into the 2x2 formation. Now Austin chooses the outside line. But this is the biggest advantage for James Watson right now. What can he do? Does anyone have anything for Austin Collins with 8 laps to go? In fact, no, we're in green-white checkered situation. Those green-white checkered. Pace car is in. We're off and racing.
Green flag.
The first of 2 attempts at a green-white checkered finish. And the caution is out already. Saw Corey Williamson get a little bit punted there. What happened to him on the start? Oh, Hernandez got loose coming out of turn 4, just tapped him in the right front, and that sent Corey Williamson straight into the inside fence. Gonna be big damage on the Hooters 81 car. And that's also a loss of his left front fender there. Oh, and the engine went boom. So that is the end of the race for Corey Williamson. That is very unfortunate. But now that means that we're going to be into the second and final attempt at a green-white checkered finish. Going to be Collins, Kraus, Watson, Harmon, Hernandez, Pentacuff. Corey Cook now 1 lap down in 7th. Corey Williamson will officially finish in 8th. And it's Travis Massio and Frank Isaacson, both multiple laps down. Now this is going to be advantage Harmon on the restart from the second row. As Watson got a good start on that initial restart. He took 3rd when the caution came out. My assumption is we're probably on 2 to green here. So we'll start getting these guys sorted out into their restart positions. Be very early now. Austin Collins choosing the outside lane. Kyle Kraus once more on the inside. Lights will go out this time by. And we'll have another attempt at a green-white checkered finish. Our final attempt at a green-white checkered finish. The next flag after we drop the green will end the race. Whether it's a yellow or whether it's the white, we're about to find out. Race car's going to make that hard left turn into the pits once more. It's win it or bin it time for Collins, Kraus, Harmon and Watson.
Green flag.
We're off and racing. And look at the jump that Harmon got on the outside line behind Austin. And he's tapped him, sent him sideways. The safety car is out once more. That has ended the race. And what a controversial finish this will be. Thomas Harmon just gave him the slightest of taps. And that sent Austin Collins around, bringing out the caution and ending the race. There might be something to be said about the way that this one has ended. But Unofficially, Thomas Harmon wins the race from Kyle Kraus and James Watson. Jonathan Hernandez in 4th. And Mark Pentacuff picking up a top 5. So we're going to go to a commercial break here. When we come back, we're going to try and divulge this a little bit and get some driver interviews cracking. But we'll see if there's going to be any celebratory burnouts, which I'm assuming there is. There we go. Alright, so now we'll go to a commercial break. When we come back, we'll have driver interviews, so make sure you guys stay tuned. All right, guys, we've dissected a little bit here, and we have our top 4 in the booth because it's time for our Autism Awareness Hard Charger Award winner. And today's Hard Charger is the 88 car of Mr. Jonathan Hernandez. Jonathan, a great first half of the race from everyone. I didn't think we were going to be green for so long. But a little bit of chaos ensued in the second half of the race. Definitely helped you to improve your position there.
Yeah, it's like you said, you worded it perfectly. First half was pretty much green and clean by everybody. Well, generally almost clean. There was a few incidents that didn't trigger yellow, but other than that, I mean, everyone had a great first half. I know we certainly did here. Our was just, it was great to start off with, but after it seemed 35 laps, I was just falling off. And when we get that caution around 100, that's pretty much, everything goes off the rails and give it so, it was within, 50 to go on that initial restart. And that's what, everything just went downhill from here. Essentially, we had a lot of cars running at the time. And, coming to the finish, we barely had, it seemed like a handful running.
Yeah, I mean, we even went into 2 green white checkers, which we almost never do here, using up our limit of overtime finishes. And you were involved in a little bit of an incident yourself there on the first one.
Yeah, it's well, of course, first off, I want to apologize to Corey Williamson there. I absolutely I feel really bad that I took away. It was essentially a top five for him. He was running top five towards that end. It's just I shifted from second to third, and when it shifted to third, I hit the gas and the rear wheel spun out, and I was headed towards the inside. I hooked it right to try to save it, but by that time, he was already coming up as he should for the restart to arc it into one, and we made contact, and just it killed his car. So, I just, I do want to apologize to him, and of course, Joe too. Me and Joe had a little incident. I think it was like on the first or the second restart. Um, but me and him, we talked it out. He said that he came up, but it's hard racing. Really, everything just hard racing towards the end, especially with essentially the playoff coming up next week's the final race of the regular season. So I think the intensity amped up, and that's why we had so many incidents that second half.
Yeah, and a little bit of pit strategy as well in that second half. I noticed with about 20 to go, the top four who came out of the pits, all just taking the two tires. Uh, what do you reckon of that strategy call?
Well, it just has to do with the tire wear in this car. We ran, even though it seemed like we ran many laps here, between that set and then the two tire set, the left sides weren't wore off as much. Plus, it helped loosen the car up, which for a short run towards the end, it's crucial. But excuse me, but yeah. So I think it was just the two tire call. I mean, regardless, Thomas, he won the race with four towards the end, but of course that's for him to talk about it.
All right, now let's look forward to next week. As you said, it is the final race of the regular season, and it's going to be from the Worldwide Technology Raceway, aka the Gateway Raceway. What's the feeling like for you as we head into WWTR?
Well, I think it's gonna be similar to what we saw here tonight. Just I think we're gonna have a long green flag run. Of course, with I guess it technically counts as if we're tracking away with how turn one or how narrow turn one is. You can think about it as, it's similar to Darlington and the layout. However, the banking extremely different compared to Darlington. So I think it's going to come down to tire strategy and how people save their tires, and um, who knows? Maybe we'll get another one of those crazy second halves over there, especially with, like you said, it's the final regular season race. So I think people who are around that cut line, if it's close, considering how the points are leaving here, I think we're gonna expect something crazy with that, or some crazy strategy call to help elevate somebody into points.
All right, Jonathan, before we let you go here tonight, anyone you want to give a quick shout out to?
Yeah, of course. Well, first off, thank you for the sponsor of the Hard Charger Award. Of course, with autism awareness. I don't know who sponsored. I want to say Jonas or Frank, one of those two. Um, so quick thank you to them, of course. Uh, okay, I've been told it was Frank. Yeah, thank you to Frank for the um, award uh, sponsor for that. As usual, the everyone here on Output who's running it, you Corey for the broadcast, and Audie Sim commentator. Um, and of course my team. Got to thank everybody over there at Tri Racing Enterprises, and our sponsors. StentAnalyzer.com, Susan Media, RPM Motorsports, NC.com, Chevy Accessories, Cincinnati on a car for here, and everyone pretty much that makes it possible, including my family. Always got to give a quick thank you to the family, moms, grandparents, stepdad, including the girlfriend. Can't leave her out. So, but yeah, thanks to everybody, and we'll come back next week. Hopefully, get another strong performance heading to the playoffs.
All right. Thank you very much for coming out, Jonathan, and thank you for taking up everyone else's interview time. We look forward to seeing you again next week at Gateway.
It's been a while since that interview, so we had to have another long one.
Absolutely,
Thank you,
mate.
Corey.
See ya. All right, guys, that was our fourth place getter and our Autism Awareness Hard Charger Award winner, the 88 of Jonathan Hernandez. Coming up next, we are going to get our third place getter, and he was absolutely on pace for most of the race, but unfortunately just fell a little bit short with the way that those final cautions fell. Of course, it is the 39 of James Watson. James, you started out strong. You had a little bit of a slip up there after the first pit stop, but those well timed cautions absolutely helped you get back through the field, mate.
Yeah, it was a it was a really up and down race for me. Like I had the pace to be up there at the front, and I was battling, and then my connection started getting really wonky, uh, like all over the place, bad, and so bad that Kyle ended up putting me into the wall because he had no idea I was there. And so I had damage from that I was dealing with, and then finally it settled down, and finally I got time to fix some of the damage, and then yeah, I spun, and so I'm like, man, like I just yeah, really weird race, and then all of a sudden I caught a bunch of breaks and ended up back up into third, which I'm happy about. I just like, yeah, this is one of my best ever tracks. So I just wanted some sort of good result. So I'm happy to end up in a podium after all that chaos. I'm grateful.
All right, now this puts you in a pretty good position points wise as well, because next week is the final week of the regular season, and you were fourth coming into this race, just 2 points behind Chris Champeau. So with Chris's issues there, you should, in theory, move up into third coming into the next race. How does that feel, knowing that the end of the regular season's coming up and it's almost time for playoffs?
Uh, pretty nerve wracking. I'm not used to being up this high in the points in this league, and so with the playoffs coming, it's nerve wracking because that now you have like expectation. It's like, okay, I'm up high in the points. I gotta maintain that when the playoffs start. I'm used to just rolling into the playoffs here, just happy to be here, happy to be a part of it. So uh, I'm not used to looking up at the points and not having to scroll down to see my name. So uh, it, it's nice. It's nice to be in this position. Just hoping that I don't absolutely choke it come the important parts of the season.
All right, now let's look forward to next week, the last race of the regular season. Going to be from the Worldwide Technology Raceway. What's the feeling like for you as we head into Gateway to end off the regular season?
Oh, I hate that place. I hate driving it in anything but the Indy Pro 2000. It's incredible in the Indy Pro 2000. In fact, officials are there right now. I highly recommend trying out that combo. But yeah, I hate it in anything else. So yeah, if I could just end up with like a top 10 out of next week, I'll be happy. Cause yeah, me and that place have never gotten along whatsoever.
All right, James, before we let you go here tonight, anyone you want to give a quick shout out to?
Yes, sir. Gotta thank everyone at Team Watson Racing Setups. Use code WATSPIN 39 for 10% off at checkout. I gotta thank Chris Graham and the National Racing Network, ZAS Designs for putting together my paint schemes. Sim Search, your number one sim racing online marketplace, and Martin Sports Sim Racing Apparel.
All right, thank you very much for coming out, James. Congratulations on coming home P3. We look forward to seeing what we can do next week when we go to Gateway.
Cheers. Thank you.
All right, guys, that was our third place gunner, the one, the only, James Beyblade Watspin. Coming up next, we are going to have our second place getter, and it's another driver that faced a little bit of adversity in this race. Of course, it is the 7 of Kyle Kraus. Kyle, You looked very strong in that first run, but it looked like a couple of scrapings up against the wall, and you just started falling like a rock in that first run.
I did. Yeah, Frank had a wiggle coming off too. I was racing behind him for so long, looking for opportunity to get by, and it got up to the outside and ran up too high into the wall, and the car was just kind of crap since then. I think between hitting the wall and running right behind Frank for so long, I just kind of burned up the tires, and I was struggling the rest of that first run.
But an incredible fight back there in the second half of the race, the more chaotic half of the race, as I like to call it, and including a little bit of pit strategy there with about 20 to go. What was the second half of the race like for you?
Well, at first I was frustrated that the caution came out when I did because I was about to unlap myself, and I thought that that was gonna mess me up. I pitted because I was just so bad. I pitted for 2 tires, just to make it really quick and get back out there. Gained up a ton of track position, and then fortunately we had those 2 cautions, so I was able to get my lucky dog, but then also, um, miss some of the carnage. It was crazy out there on that second restart, and get myself into a good position. And then I hung on to it. I never took left side tires. I just took 2 the whole time just to try and keep myself as close to the front as possible, and it helped keep loosening the car up so I could turn it a little bit better.
I mean, that's definitely a very good strategy. I wasn't expecting someone to have not have changed left side tires at all throughout the whole race. So great effort there on what must have been some very worn left side tires. But let's have a look at those final two restarts, the two overtime attempts. You were stuck on the inside of the front row for both of those, which, as we know around here at North Wilkesboro, isn't exactly the best of positions to be, but both very chaotic restarts.
Yeah, they were kind of wild, and I was really mirror driving the whole time. I was being a little conservative on the restarts with the leader on the outside. I didn't want to get one of the dumb restart zone penalties, so I was being a little cautious. It almost bit me on the first restart, and definitely did with Thomas getting a good jump on the second one. I was happy to be on the inside because I didn't want to risk getting like freight trained on the outside. I wanted to kind of be able to hold my spot there. I just got too bad of a start.
All right, now let's look forward towards next week, Kyle. The last race of the regular season, and we're going to be going to Gateway. So, what's the feeling like for you as we head towards Worldwide Technology Raceway?
Yeah, last race I've managed to get myself up into the top 10 in points, to be in it for the playoffs, which is a big accomplishment given how I started the season. I'm pretty happy about that. Looking forward to closing it out at Gateway. I won the truck race the last time we were here, um, so hopefully I can keep that momentum going.
Yeah, just having a quick little squiz at the points here. Um, Brian Pizzicami, who's not here, was just in front of you coming into this race, and Jonathan Hernandez, James Watson, Chris Champeau, who didn't have a good race. So you should be fifth or sixth coming into the final race here. Things are looking pretty good for you as far as the end of the regular season is concerned.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy about it, and it should be good points battle. I mean, I know Joe is fast, and he's the one on the outside looking in on the points. He's got a was it a 13-point gap, so I'm sure he'll be looking for a big field and someone in front of him to have trouble, but should be good head into the playoffs. And tonight, also tonight was the shout out to Thomas. Tonight was the championship of our little mid-season bracket, like the real life one that Denny Hamlin put together, and Thomas pulled that out over Chris tonight.
Wow, so he comes home with a race win and the bracket win. It is very surprising. But before we let you go here tonight, Kyle, anyone you want to give a quick shout out to?
Yeah, just everybody that comes out every week. Thanks to everyone that's regular. Thanks to the new guys that have been showing up. Appreciate everyone coming out and working hard to make this league a lot of fun.
All right, Kyle, thank you very much for coming out. We look forward to seeing what you can do next week when we go to Gateway.
Thanks, Corey.
All right, guys, that was our second place getter, Kyle Kraus, a man who does many things behind the scenes. And, we couldn't have this league running as smoothly as we do without him. But coming up next, we're going to have the man who's going to be broiled in all the controversies post race. Of course, it is tonight's winner, the 38 of Mr. Thomas Harmon. And Thomas, I was just informed by Kyle that you also won the brackets. for the little
Do we have to
bracket
do this
racing we were doing.
interview? Because I gotta go hide for a while.
Well, unfortunately, you are contractually obligated to do this interview. So let's just talk
All
about the
right.
first
Well,
half of the race first. Um, it was a good little run between yourself and Christian Poe there. Quite the healthy little battle, a little bit of to and fro, and you both showed each other a whole ton of respect in that first half of the race.
yeah, it was really hard to pass, and especially when you got to somebody's close to the rear of the car got exceptionally tight, and you almost had to dive bomb to even have a shot at getting close to him because it just got so tight behind somebody. But we made it work. We didn't wreck each other, and that's yeah, better than
Uh,
the second half.
All right, now let's dive into the second half a little bit. It was a little bit more chaotic than the first half. Got quite a few cautions out of it, and due to pit strategy, you were mired down in fifth for a little bit there on one of the restarts. What was it like being on four tires and seeing the guys in front of you only taking two and holding onto it pretty well?
I expected they would, especially after I saw what my lefts were. I knew it would be hard to get by them, so I just kind of accepted my fate at that point and would just try to get whatever I could. But I didn't expect to win after that last cycle of pits.
All right, now let's look into the two overtime restarts. The first one, you were stuck down in third and couldn't really get a good run going there, but luckily a quick caution when Watson had gotten around you put you in a better position for that second restart.
Yeah, the outside line was definitely better. You can get the run off the corners and keep the momentum up to pass and hold on to that position. If you get to the guys outside in front of you, there was on the inside lane there. Well, it would have been Kyle in the last one, but able to get him and get to Kyle's right rear, I'd have been able to get by them both. And but massive run, and I got to the inside of Collins too. And
All right, now let's look into the final restart, the one that ended it all. You got a really good launch off the restart there. Take us through what happened after that.
uh, Collins actually let me know when he was expected to go, so I had it timed fairly well, obviously, and I didn't expect to get as big a run as what I had, and I got the late call that Kyle had gotten back to my inside just before the corner, and so I adjusted to Kyle, but Collins would have never gotten that call because I was just barely to his inside, um, and he had already committed to the corner, so it was kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't, but still my fault for making that aggressive move, uh, and he owes me one.
All right, now let's look forward towards next week, Thomas. The last race of the regular season, and it's going to be from the Worldwide Technology Raceway. So, what's the feeling like for you as we go into Gateway to end off the regular season?
I really enjoy Gateway. Feel fairly confident there, so I think it'll be a good race. Hopefully, get out front, stay out front, kind of thing.
All right, Thomas, before we let you go here tonight, mate, anyone you want to give a quick shout out to?
Yeah, shout out to you up in the booth for broadcasting to everybody, all the fans that show up each week, all the drivers show up each week, uh, drivers council, the admins. Collins, he should have won that race. Um, Avril on the car, and last this week would be my grandpa, whose funeral was today.
Well, my condolences to you and your family for your grandpa. But hopefully next week, much better week for you, as I do believe you've actually recaptured the lead of the regular points at the moment with the absence of TJ Crampton. So looking like you are going to be in the fight to take out the regular season points once more.
Well, hopefully.
All right, Thomas, thank you very much for coming out. Look forward to seeing what we can do next week when we go to Gateway.
See you next week.
All right, guys, that was our winner tonight, Mr. Thomas Harmon. Now, next week, it will be a recorded broadcast. It won't be live due to some other real life commitments. So until then, I've been your commentator, the Aussie Sim commentator. We'll see you guys at Gateway.